Common Knowledge Podcast, just a man doing the best he can with what he got. And all politics are local. To be honest, local politics affect you more than national politics, so it's good to keep your eye on your city. And for me, that is Memphis, Tennessee. And I'll be talking about the up-and-coming xAI data center and supercomputer colossus. And let me just say this, man, because people try to run this game on you. They try to run this game that if you ask questions, then you're not pro-business. And let me just put it out here now. I think AI is the future. I think America needs to be on the cutting edge of AI for national security reasons. But if you don't ask questions, you're going to get exploited. And I live in a city and I work in a city, and I think it's good to point out that the city has potential. Like Memphis is one of those places that has a lot of potential, but we do things ass backwards. And instead of actually investing in Memphis, businesses that come to Memphis like to exploit Memphis, like to exploit us, take our resources, use us, and give nothing back. That happened with Electrolux. That happened with International Paper. That happened with Kimball Musk Restaurants. And that happened with Mother Industries in Mid-America. All these folks took money and incentives from the city and then shut down, left us with nothing. Left us with nothing. And usually state leadership, Memphis leadership allows this to happen under the guise of trying to make things better. I personally am certified in the cloud. I'm certified in Microsoft Office and Teams, which is voice over IP. I'm certified in cybersecurity. I have my CompTIA Security Plus, Cloud Plus, and Secure Cloud certifications. I'm right now training in generative AI and large language models. I'm just saying all that and throwing out that expertise to let you know I have a level of understanding about some of the ramifications of these data centers, what they do, and what resources they take up. Because there's a lot of concerns about this. A whole lot of concerns about this computer, but let's just start at the beginning. So in 2024, Elon Musk decided to open up xAI because he got kicked off the board of OpenAI. And OpenAI is the creator of ChatGPT. So it seems kind of like a spiteful thing, but he got $6 billion in private funds to open up xAI. Thus began him looking for a location to place this. And because he was given insane tax incentives and breaks, thanks in part to the Memphis Chamber of Commerce, who's actually responsible for bringing all those other companies in the beginning I mentioned, he came to Memphis. And this is supposed to be a supercomputer for generative AI that utilizes up to 1 million NVIDIA GPUs. Keep that in mind. 1 million NVIDIA GPUs, because that's going to be important later. So the site is located in South Memphis, like one of the city's most polluted and low-income areas. I'll give you $20 and you can tell me what population lives in South Memphis. Now, one of the biggest concerns of AI for any country or any company is power consumption. It takes a lot of power. And one of the many concerns about xAI is how they're choosing to power their plant in part. And in part, they're choosing to use gas and methane turbines. As it stands now, they have up and running 33. I've seen the footage. I've seen the video. Don't let these folks lie to you and say they're only using 15. 33 gas and methane turbines are running right now without a permit. Now, let me connect a few dots for you. Because environmental injustice is one of the biggest factors holding down poor, brown, and black people in America, and particularly in Memphis. Because these turbines are going to be emitting nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide, and methane into the communities, which are going to pump out 1,200 to 2,000 tons of nitric oxide yearly. But why is this important to Memphis? Because there's data that shows behavioral issues connected to nitrates oxide. That's right. Nitric oxide is driving your kids crazy. From Time magazine, studies have demonstrated that both parental and early exposure to NO2 can lead to various developmental problems. From PubMed, Increased behavioral problems. Higher parental NO2 exposure is associated with more behavioral issues in children, particularly when exposure occurs during the first and second trimester of pregnancies. Cognitive impairment. Exposure to NO2 has been linked to reduced cognitive performance and behavioral health, primarily in children. Mental health risks. Children exposed to higher levels of air pollution, including NO2, are more likely to experience behavioral problems and even reductions in IQ. Association with autism spectrum disorder, ASD. Research suggests that a potential link between parental exposure to air pollutants like NO2, nitrous oxide, and the increased risk of autism in children. Now, here's the thing. When RFK came out here and said environmental toxins are leading to autism, people went to vaccines. There is no conclusive evidence that shows that vaccines lead to autism, but there is evidence that shows environmental toxins like air pollutants and toxic waste does. And xAI is situated slap dead next to Dunn Elementary and Oakshire Elementary. The proximity to these schools have to raise concerns. You are putting these kids at risk. You are damaging their future. You are making it unnecessarily harder on them. If y'all really care about the kids, you gotta be concerned about this. But the truth of the matter is that, look, man, nobody cares about black kids. They don't. Like, it's really fuck them kids. It really is essentially that. Nobody cares about the health and well-being of black children. And I say that not tongue-in-cheek, because people will often talk about the Memphis crime rate and then use that to demonize people of color and then use that as a cudgel to say why we don't deserve any fairness, especially environmental fairness or even criminal justice fairness. They always talk about that, but nobody looks at any of the factors leading to that. One of the factors leading to high crime in Memphis is pollutants. You have black and brown people near some of the most dangerous chemicals, our chemical plants, our water treatment plants. Research consistently demonstrates that increases in air pollution levels are associated with higher rates of violent crimes, particularly assaults. One study showed that a 10% increase of air pollutants led to an increase of crimes. And all those chemicals have an effect on your body, your brain, your development. Where you live affects so much of how you act. But we don't want to look at that. We just say, hey, man, you can't do abortion. You got to have these kids. Where they going to live at? Who gives a damn? Is this money going to keep on coming in? Well, shit, put it over there with those people. It affects us directly. xAI is in the heart of Whitehaven and South Memphis. Disproportionately black people. And you're probably asking yourself right now, or saying to yourself, well, Marcus, you got to crack a few eggs for progress, right? Like, you got to put those there in Memphis so this community can come up. Do you know they're slated right now to be 320 jobs, high-paying jobs at xAI. And none of those 320 jobs are binding to Memphis. There is no writing or no contract to guarantee any of those jobs initially will go to Memphians. And let me just ask you this. For anybody who's living in Memphis, do you think people in South Memphis and Whitehaven who have historically been marginalized, left behind in education, do you think they're ready to work at a data center? What can they do? Like, what training can be done to get those people up to snuff to work in a data center for generative AI? Like, seriously, maybe they can pull cords. Maybe they can be janitors, but that's not a $120,000 job, right? There's nothing binding to say these people in this neighborhood can get this job, so they're not going to keep the money in the neighborhood, making it better. What you're going to have is a bunch of carpetbaggers coming into the hood, using all the resources, dumping all their toxic waste, making it shitty, and leave. That's what's going to happen if most of these jobs are remote. Just being honest with you, when it comes to the maintaining of these data centers, most of these jobs are going to be remote. You're probably going to have somebody in California or India running these things. And some of y'all are saying right now that, hey, Marcus, you're sensationalizing this. Well, if it's that good, why don't we put it in the white neighborhood? Like dead ass. Why don't we put it in a white neighborhood near water? Collierville has a big gray water site and a water treatment site. Why don't we just upend this and put it next to Collierville? And the reason is because it's environmental racism. Like, we'll tear down the black neighborhoods, but we'll try to protect the white neighborhood because right now, the white folks in Collierville don't want their kids exposed to all this pollution. But the black kids, it's totally okay. Put those black kids near it. They're savages anyway, right? That's what's implied. It may not be how you feel, but that is what's being implied. All right, now let's talk about power consumption and how we are not ready for any data center in the Memphis area. All right, I know in the last segment, a lot of y'all was probably turned off by environmental racism. There go Marcus making everything about race again. Let me just bring this back to the center. Because if you're a white person in Memphis or the Shelby County area, I want to make sure I'm including you too. Like, you should be concerned with this. Pollution doesn't care about zip code. It's kind of like the smoking section in a restaurant. The smoke doesn't know to stay in that area, right? It's gonna go where it goes and where the wind takes it. But let's look at these GPUs. The leader in GPUs at the moment are NVIDIA and AMD. And Intel is making a GPU now. But for generative AI, you typically need graphical processing units. Traditional computers used to use like CPUs to do most of the compute work. But for AI, it's the graphics processor. Like, they found a way to get that popping. And I'm not going to nerd out too much and give you guys all this computer jargon, but let me give you a quick history of chips and why this is important. So you have two types of chips. You have x86 chips, and then you have what are called ARM chips. ARM chips are more environmentally friendly. Those are the type of chips you see like in mobile phones, iPads, and MacBook Pros. Apple is really leaning into ARM. ARM chips are very energy efficient and they don't emit a lot of emissions. They don't get hot because how they are designed. Like, they're designed for basically the CPU, GPU, and the RAM cores to be all integrated in one chip, and it's more efficient so you don't get a lot of emissions. The problem with that is they're not good for compute as of right now. That is slowly changing. ARM chips are getting more powerful and you're starting to see them in servers, but like when you're doing high level computation, those are not the chips you want. What you want are x86 chips. And those are chips primarily found in servers, Windows servers, and high-end GPUs right now, x86. And they're really good for compute, but they get hot as a mug, guys. Like, you can try this right now. If you have a desktop with a dedicated GPU, or even a Windows laptop with a dedicated GPU, you can try this. You can go to your desktop in Windows and look at the emissions levels. And 9 out of 10, they're going to have something that says, like, performance. If you put it on performance, you have a risk of running your computer hot. Like, seriously, there's something called overclocking your computer. And when you overclock your computer, you get a higher performance rate, but it gets hot. Like, one GPU can get super duper hot. So you need fans on your computer. Now imagine having a million of them junks. Even at the place I work at, in our data closets, we have dedicated air conditionings for cooling to make sure things run optimal. Like, that is a hidden cost. And let me try to break down the math to you guys about the power consumption used for a GPU and why we really are looking at alternative power sources in America for AI. So the daily use for a GPU, 24/7, it takes about 16.8 kilowatts a day. Now, if you multiply that by 365, that comes out to around 6,132 kilowatts a year. The annual cost to run that GPU, assuming that you're paying 15 cents per kilowatt hour, comes out to $919.80 per year to run one GPU. So lowball, you're looking at $8 million a year to run a million GPUs at xAI. Now, the problem is, right, with xAI is it's not a fully sustainable warehouse. Even though they got those gas turbines throwing out emissions in the air, that's not going to be enough. They're still going to have to depend on the Memphis power grid, if not for anything, just redundancy. You need redundancy and a backup just in case those gas turbines go down to suck in some of their power. Now here's the thing, guys. I want you to think, if you live in Memphis, when was the last time that your power went off? If you're in Arlington, Lakeland, it was last week. Literally, we had the power go out 3 times last week in Arlington, who is serviced by MLG&W. The power went out 4 times in Whitehaven this month, powered by Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. And that's because we have an old grid. We're still using the same grid from 1914. I mean, look, to say it's not been updated is a little bit of hyperbole. They've done Band-Aids on gunshot wounds. But ultimately, we have that same grid. The energy grid needs to be updated. Now, cook with me. For 100,000 GPUs, xAI is going to need 250 megawatts of power. That is enough to power 7,000 to 25,000 homes in Memphis. And if xAI hits their goal of 1 million GPUs, they'll be raking in enough power to power 1.5 million households, right? So the Memphis and Shelby County area has about 350,000 houses. As it stands now, if xAI gets to 1 million GPUs, they will be needing 4 times the city's use of power. They need 4 times the cost of powering the whole Memphis and Shelby County area. Do you think the Memphis power grid has enough energy to support that? Even just for redundancy purposes. Let's just say one of those gas turbines go down, something happens. Do you think our power grid has enough support or enough juice to support xAI in peak hours? Huh? The same power grid that's been offline 4 times in Arlington that I know of. Do you think we have enough power for that? Now, here's the thing, right? I've been digging, I did some research, I've been going to meetings. Do you know there is no plan for xAI to reinvest into MLG&W and update the infrastructure? No plans whatsoever. So you got this behemoth that needs all this energy that's going to be sucking out this power and not putting any money back into the community to upgrade the grid. That's not just a South Memphis problem. That's a problem that's going to hurt all Memphis and Shelby County. And I got a question for you, dead ass. If you got a data center with 1 million GPUs sucking up all that power, those turbines go down. And this is the backbone for Gronk and a lot of other industries around the world. Who do you think MLG&W, the TVA, and all these utility companies are going to choose? If xAI needs more power and your home needs more power, who do you think is going to get first preference? Do you think it's going to be the communities around Memphis and Shelby County that they service first? Or do you think xAI is going to get first dibs at that power? On an already shitty power grid that cannot support us now, what you're going to have happening is a bunch of rolling blackouts. And let me just make this point. I'm not anti-data center. I'm not anti-AI. I work in the field myself. But unless you start investing in your infrastructure, you're not going to come out on top. It's going to hurt everybody. You know, but I've been talking about the problem, man. What is the solution? What is the solution? And the solution is simple. It's just oversight, man. Like, nobody is telling xAI not to come here. Seriously, nobody's saying that. But to be honest, Elon Musk has not proven himself to be a trustworthy broker. The man has a bunch of projects that he has never finished. The Hyperloop never finished. San Francisco and California still waiting on that. The man promises things like full self-driving, never happened. He said we was going to go to Mars, not happening. And I'm not saying that this data center is not going to happen in Memphis, but you got to go by the man's track record. So the answer here is oversight. Like, you got to have transparency and oversight. And you have local activists out here in Memphis doing the work. And shout out to Mr. Keyshawn Pearson, who's actually part of the Sierra Club and the board, who's actually doing the work out here, putting out the information, letting us know like how this pollutant and how all these wind turbines are going to affect us. We need something on paper. So it's funny how Memphis got this bid, or xAI, was basically the Memphis Chamber of Commerce kicks Elon's ass. Like, they did whatever it took to get him out here with little oversight and not asking the tough questions because they didn't want to lose that business. And I'm honestly not blaming the Memphis Chamber of Commerce. I get what you're trying to say. The future is AI. AI isn't going anywhere, and you do want to be on the forefront of that. But once again, it was forward looking without dealing with the problems right now. Like, the city is not ready for all these tech jobs. And we do have places like Tech 901 and colleges that are trying to get us ready, but it should have been some guarantees. Like, it's not too late. You need to go back to Elon Musk and guarantee, hey man, out of those 320 jobs and the upcoming 1,000 jobs later in the future, can I get 25% of those high paying jobs to people in the city? Or at the very least, can I get some investment in uplifting this city? Because I kind of get what they're trying to do, right? The Memphis Chamber of Commerce, or people in general who are for this, which I am too, they're saying this. If you get one data center here, that's going to attract other data centers and you can start getting other tech jobs. But once again, if you're not invested into the community where these jobs are supposed to be, what you're going to get is a bunch of carpetbaggers. And if you get a bunch of carpetbaggers, what you're going to have happen is what happened in Silicon Valley, right? You're going to get all these people who's going to price out the local population. You're going to have like gentrification to a max. So you're going to have to get xAI to invest in the community somehow. Honestly, whether it be good paying janitorial jobs, I'll take that too. Seriously, if you're going to have your wind turbines next to these elementary kids, I expect these kids to have the best and brightest technology. They need to have top-notch computer rooms. There need to be studies into the effects, the environmental effects of the methane and the nitrous oxide into the atmosphere to see if it's affecting the community. You need to do that. It needs to be regulated highly. Who looks after the air quality in Memphis is TDEC. TDEC is who does that in the Department of Health. It needs to be reports quarterly, if not monthly, but at least annually about the effects of this pollution in these neighborhoods into the Memphis area. You have to remain skeptical about all of this. You can't be like, okay, business is going to come in and not ask what you get. Like, seriously, you asking the community to give up so much with nothing in return. Like, City of Memphis, Mayor Paul Young, go back and negotiate some more stuff. Like, seriously, once you start breaking ground on this, go back to the drawing board and be like, hey, man, we need some more assurances. That's what you need, man. You need transparency and insurances. And you need oversight. Right now, they're running turbines with no permits. You need a legal fund. And look, I'm telling you right now, man, anybody who wants to start a legal defense fund, publicly funded, I ain't got $1 million, but I got a few hundreds I can throw at it. I got a podcast that I can tell everybody else to throw a few, couple of dollars in there, like $10, $20, $100. Look, if we all come together in the Memphis community and ask for oversight, it will happen. Because right now, the only people slated to suffer aren't just like the black and brown people. It's going to be the whole city of Memphis, because we don't have enough to support this, guys. Yeah. And that's the Common Knowledge Podcast, updated weekly. I want to send a special shout out to the local Memphis Indivisible group who had a town hall at the Noshiba Unilateral Unitarian Church. And I want to give a shout out to the Sahara Club and its board members for actually breaking down the economic and environmental effects of this data center in Memphis. And for anybody who wants to be involved, just check out your local Indivisible group. They have a Facebook page. You can hit up Republican and Democratic City Hall members and ask them what they're doing for this too. Like, that's what needs to be done. You need transparency and oversight. Once again, I'm not against this AI data center being made in Memphis, but I want reassurances that it's actually going to uplift the community and the people most vulnerable are not going to be exploited. And what we're going to do to help the healthcare of those people in that community. Peace.